Hey everybody, ronarray here, and bossing in 3.26 looked pretty profitable to me. So today I'm going to try one of the most profitable but still one of the most annoying bosses, the Uber Sirus. In that case, Uber Sirus can drop a lot of expensive loot, especially right now when the Saviour costs up to 60 divines even if it's not dropping too often. So here I'm going to test how good is the loot from the boss, how many divines per hour approximately we can make, and is there a big point to farm Sirus in general. Let's go. So first off, let's talk about what the boss can drop. Generally, Uber Sirus right now will drop the boots, so Tempest Rising, which are not too expensive, but you can still use them for dust, for example. It will also drop a Thread of Hope with massive ring variant, and it's going to drop a lot of those, to be honest. So Thread of Hopes usually don't cost a lot, but if you will corrupt them, some of them could sell for a pretty decent amount of money. It also has about 6% of chance to drop Oriath and Flask, which is pretty expensive, especially if it rolled nice. And chance to drop the Saviour right now is less than 1%, so most of the time, in 100 or like 50 runs, you're not really expecting to see a lot of Saviours. There's also about 1.5% chance to drop Reliquary Key, which can provide like Sirus items in general. And the most important part, Sirus is also dropping Orb of Dominance together with Awakening Orbs. And if Orb of Dominance is kinda not dropping too often, it's about 5% chance. But Awakening Orbs can drop approximately like 15 to 20%. So we should have a lot of Awakening Orbs at the end of this video. And Orb of Dominance together with Awakening Orbs will be one of the most important part of the profit, because I'm not really expecting a lot of Saviours, and a few Oriath ends not going to save it completely. So the main profit here should just come from the currency, which drop in pretty often and have a very decent cost because it's necessary for the crafting. So first off, let's talk about the price of entering the boss. So initially, I fought the boss 60 times for 300 fragments, which is a pretty round number, that's why I picked it. Generally, I've been paying 1 divine per 7 fragments. If you want to buy fragments just very fast, you can pay like 6.3 fragments per 1 divine. However, if you will just swap it, it's usually 7 fragments per 1 divine, and I just placed some orders, like 1 divine per 7, and got them over a few hours. I think it made the cost a little less, and for 60 fights I generally paid only 43 divines, which is a pretty nice price. So usually, one fight for Sirus takes about 3 minutes, and you spend a lot of additional time just waiting, because Sirus is yapping constantly and it's leading to nothing, so you can sort your inventory in the process, like check some other things and stuff like that. I think the fight is not that long by itself, but together with the yapping at 3 minutes. And for 60 fights I spent approximately like 3.5 hours, which is not too bad. And that's one of the longest Uber fights, and it leads to Sirus being not too popular, so less people farming it, and I think there's a better chances to make profit in general, because people still need stuff that Sirus is dropping, but not a lot of people want to just stand there and listen to him yap. And now, let's talk about the loot. So first off, in 60 fights, I received about 30 boots, the Tempest Rising Goliath Greaves, which will lead us to almost 50% drop rate, and that's pretty much my approximation for the Uber Sirus fights right now. One of them is just like very good, it's 25 increased duration and 21 damaging elements deal damage faster, which is 70 chaoses. 3 of them is just damaging elements deal damage 25% faster, which is approximately 50 chaoses per each. And 3 of them is just like maximum duration, 25% right here, which is 30 chaoses. The rest are absolutely useless, and most of the time they will just sell for a pretty low amount of currency, and on average that will be like 15 chaoses per each. Some of them will be a little less, like 10, 11, some of them will be a little higher, like 19, 20. But in general, out of all 30 boots, I will receive approximately like 655 chaoses or 3 divines, which is a pretty good number for a very basic drop. So the next step of the loot is pretty much Thread of Hope Crimson Jewel. I dropped 28 Crimson Jewels right here, as you can see, which is a pretty good number too. It's almost 50% drop chance as well, which is pretty nice. Unfortunately, most of those jewels are pretty cheap right now. I dropped one with like minus 11% of all elemental resistances, which is like 70 chaoses. About 3 of minus 12% of all elemental, which is approximately 40 per each. And the rest, like 24 right here, are all pretty bad, and on average most of them is just like 15 chaoses right now. Some of them will be a little better, like minus 13, some of them will be like even worse, minus 20 for example, is like 10 chaoses right now. So on average I will just calculate them like 15 chaoses, and from the jewels themselves I received 550 chaoses approximately, which is 2.5 divines. And that's a pretty nice number too, but it will take some time to liquidate all of them. However, after that I also decided to corrupt all of them. So as you can see, I just corrupted all the bad ones, which mean like 15 chaoses, and I rolled that one. So currently with the stats like that, when you just have corrupted blood and minus all elemental resistances like 15 in the massive ring, that one should cost up to 19 divines. So if you will get lucky with the corruption, you can get much more currency out of it. However, I'm just going to calculate it without the corruption because, well, I think I just got very lucky, and getting a corrupted blood cannot be inflicted on you right here could be pretty hard, and most of the time it's not going to happen because the rest of them been absolutely destroyed, and as you can see, most of them just worthless right now. But if you get lucky like that, you can get a pretty decent amount of divines just from the jewels too. Now let's talk about more profitable items, and this is pretty much the flasks. After 60 fights I dropped 4 flasks, which is Oriath and 2 of them are pretty basic, just 23 and 22%, and both should cost approximately like 3 divines. That one is 29% and I think it's pretty good. It should cost approximately 4 divines, which is very nice too. And the last one is the perfect one. Right here it has like 30% chance to explode and it should cost 8 divines, which is very good. So all of them together should be 18 divines, and that's a pretty big chunk of our profit, because Flask literally paid for the half of the Sirus runs right now. And I think that result is pretty much very good. If that one would roll like a little worse, it would be 4 divines less, but even like that it will be like 30% of the whole amount that we pay to just fight the Sirus. But since one rolled just a perfect one, I think we are going to receive more currency and it will lead to a little bigger profit. Now let's talk about the currency, which is probably the biggest chunk of our profit right now. After 60 fights I got 11 Awakener Orb, which is pretty nice. Each orb currently 3.5 divines and 11 of them will be 38.5 divines, which is a pretty good number and it's literally paid for all the entrances. I also got 5 Orb of Dominance, and each Orb of Dominance right now is 3.8 divines, so 5 of them would be approximately like 19. And on top of it, I also got like the Reliquary Key from Sirus, which is currently just like 2 divines approximately. All of the currency together, which will give me like 59.5 divines, so it will pay for all the entrances and also going to lead us to a profit, which is very good. And also for divination cards right here, Fate, Worth and Death. Unfortunately, they don't really cost a lot, and I think it will be a pretty low amount because it's just going to give like basic Corrupted Cortex. And the last question is pretty much the Saviour. And unfortunately, after 60 runs, there are no Saviour and it just never dropped. So since the chance to drop the Saviour currently is less than 1%, I think it's pretty much expected that after 60 runs I dropped nothing. The previous time when I did 100 Siruses, I also dropped nothing, and I think the chance to drop Saviour is like pretty low. That's probably one of the reasons why Saviour right now costs a lot, because not a lot of people are farming Sirus, and even if they're farming it, Saviour is just not dropping. I think even if it would drop, we just need to calculate it as a cherry on top, because it would be like not too often the chance that we are going to receive it, and drop itself is probably going to be not that stable. Right now I have no Saviour and there's nothing to calculate, unfortunately. And now let's talk about overall results. So we received about approximately like 3 divines from boots, 2.5 divines from jewels, 18 divines from flasks, and 59.5 divines from currency in general. So it's about 83 divines overall from all the loot that we received in the process. Since I paid 43 divines for entrances, that led us to 40 divines in pure profit. So generally, after spending about 3 hours farming it, I pretty much received 40 divines in profit, which is approximately like 13 divines per hour right now. It could be a little less, so like 10 divines per hour. It could be a little more if you will be more lucky, like 15 divines per hour. But generally, I think Sirus currently should be between 10 and 15 divines per hour if you're farming it effectively, which is a very good result for a boss. And if you're going to drop a Saviour, it's going to provide a huge chunk of profit, so farming it could have a very good point, because if you are going to run a lot of Siruses in a like back-to-back, you will be able to hope for that Saviour, and even while you're just farming it, you're still going to receive a pretty decent profit. I think 30 divines that I ended up with per hour is a very good result, and 40 divines after 60 runs is pretty good. It's leading to only a little less than 1 divine in a pure profit from each fight after 60 of those. And right now with such numbers, I can absolutely say that Sirus is probably one of the most profitable bosses, especially considering that you still have chances for the Saviour. So after the test, I can definitely say that Uber Sirus is a very good farm right now, especially for a boss. Like 13 divines per hour together with a chance to drop a Saviour is definitely worth farming if you are alright with bossing in general, can kill him pretty fast, and enjoy the bossing process overall. Hope it will help you out and you will be able to farm the boss as well and make some currency from it too. Thank you very much for watching as usual, and ronarray out.